welcome to the show. I'm Sherry Schreiner. A couple things I want to talk about. Yeah, this week has been crunch week and also a week of distractions. You don't want to get involved with the false flags, folks. I mean, just seriously, they want a race war. This is all Soros and deep state crap. That's why I can't even pay attention to it on the news. Because when you feed into it, they just keep it up. It's like giving, just throwing energy away. And so, my advice is to not pay attention. Don't watch the media. Don't let them get the ratings, because they're counting how many TVs are tuning in to listen to their bull crap. And that's all it is. It's scripted. Everything is very scripted, set up by them. And so don't give them the TV ratings, folks. Don't watch their videos. Don't feed into them chaos, because that's exactly what they want, chaos. They always have an agenda for pulling on something off. And a race war has been scripted for a long time. It's been on the script for 20 years that I know of. They wanted to pull off a race war. And another thing they want to pull off is a war in the Korean Peninsula. And so when you see all this scripted stuff about North Korea and everybody knows it's not true, but they're trying to forge it ahead, as desperate as they are, because they want that Korean Peninsula bomb going off. It has nothing to do with the Koreans. It's just been on the script for a long time that they would fabricate this Korean Peninsula war. A nuke bomb would go off, the whole thing would light up like a mushroom, and then the Ashtar Command, the Ascended Masters, the Eighth Regime, the New Age alien agenda I've been screaming about for 20 years, they will descend to Earth at that point. That was their welcoming party. And of course they love destruction. They're evil beings. But of course they're going to come to Earth and, oh, what are you doing? You're going to kill yourselves. We're here to help. They're the ones engineering the whole thing. So these two things have been staples on the script and how to script last day's events for their agendas for a long time. And it doesn't look like they're going to fall off the script. They just keep trying to forge them ahead and make it happen, And so don't feed into the race war, folks. You know what happened? For hundreds of years, even thousands of years, the Jews and the Arabs were brothers. They're cousins. They got along fine. There was no fighting amongst them. And then the Illuminati got a hold of it and decided to tear up the Middle East, to create chaos, turmoil, hatred, and war. And that's what happened. Because they lived side by side for centuries. They're cousins, Ishmael and Isaac. Moses married an Arab girl. That was his first wife, was an Arab woman. He sought advice from his father-in-law, who was an Arab. Now, today's Arabs are not the same Ishmael kids. They're not even the same bloodlines. Not sure what these Arabs are, but it's what's over there. And calling themselves Arabs. And they were fine until the Illuminati got a hold of them. And that's what they're trying to do to the races in America. We have lived side by side for 200 years. And they want to ignite a race war in 2017. Don't feed into it, folks. Don't buy it. We all get along just fine. I don't think anything is about color. When you look at your friends and you have friends, you tend to adopt your friends based on things you have in common. I don't think anybody looks, oh, he's black, I can't be his friend. Oh, he's white, I can't be his friend. People get along based on their hearts and their minds. It has nothing to do with the color of a skin. And we've been way past that for 50 years. So let's not go back. Let's not sink back to the garbage. Don't let them ignite a race war in this country. Tell Soros to shut up, keep his money, shove it up his arse, and don't listen to the media. Don't let the deep state keep feeding all these attacks and feeding your anger and hatred. It shouldn't be at any race. It should be at the morons causing it, trying to stir up trouble. And then don't give them the TV ratings of watching their garbage on TV. Don't give them the ratings, folks. Ignore the scripting, because that's all it is. It's scripting. They're trying to yank at your heartstrings to get you angry. And yeah, any kind of racism will get you angry and upset, but it's orchestrated, folks. It's not real. So don't buy into the orchestrations. That's what I'm saying. So, a couple things coming up. Monday is August 21st, and that's the day I like because the solar eclipse. You know, that's something in Father's control. And because you might say the lunar eclipses, I've never bought any of this garbage about the Earth's shadow. I've never bought that. I don't know, even as a kid, I'm not even a scientist or an astronomer. It just doesn't sound, it sounded stupid. An Earth's shadow, it causes an eclipse? Really? A shadow? We're how many thousands of miles from the moon? How can there be a shadow? I've never believed it. People believe it just because they're told it. They figure there's nothing else to believe, so they just go along with it. I don't buy it. I think that there is a dark planet. I've seen it at night. I don't know what they call it, Earth's twin, Earth's dark twin, or something. And I think it's when it rotates in its rotation thing that it crosses between the Earth and the moon. I think that's the Earth's dark twin. I don't buy the shadow stuff. And so, you know, you look out at night, you see these dark planets in the sky, and you're like, I know that's a planet. There's no light, but you can see the outline of a planet. So yeah, it's there. And I don't believe anything NASA says. NASA's nauseating. But anyway, the solar eclipse, Monday. So what's interesting is, because I hadn't even paid attention to this fact, was the fact that when Yeshua died on the cross on that day, there was a solar eclipse. I didn't realize that, and so that's interesting. Now what they're trying to do is tie it in. Okay, so there's a solar eclipse on the 21st. That was the day when they're core-aligning, which you know how I like correlations. They're aligning the fact that on the day he died, there was a solar eclipse, and 40 days later is when he ascended back to heaven. He went to hell and preached in lower Sheol for 3 days. Came back up and walked on the earth for 30 whatever days, until he ascended. And so they correlate that to 40 days. And so on the 40th day after the August 21st is Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement. I find that interesting because I often see the word atonement in the Bible codes. A day of judgment, which is basically what Yom Kippur is. Yom Kippur is the start of the Jewish civil. There's two Jewish calendars, the civil and religious. I believe it's the beginning of the civil calendar. I could be wrong, but I believe it's a civil calendar. It starts at Yom Kippur every year because that is a huge holy day every year. It's a day of atonement. And remember what I've said, judgment, atonement can be good or bad. In the Jewish tradition, it's a day of thinking back the past year, thinking about all the wrong things you did, and how you can correct that and improve on it for the following year. Lamenting over the past sins you did over the past year. It's a day of lament, a day of remembrance. It is their first day of the year, their New Year's Day, whatever, for the Jewish civil calendar, the Jewish calendar. And so that's what they do. They think back to the past year of all the things they could have done better. You know, we could all do better. We should think about that every day, but this is a one day a year set aside to think about what a screw-up you are and how much better you can improve. That's the day to do it. And so it's called the Day of Atonement. And so 40 days after August 21st is September 30th, which this year is the Day of Atonement. Now, I like the date. I like it simply because it correlates with stuff I've seen in the codes. I don't necessarily go by anybody's interpretations. I see their correlations. I like them or I don't. I'm led to them or I'm not. You know, there's some things I'm led to. There's other things I'm not. Everybody's jumping on the September 21st date. I'm not jumping on it. as something of the Father's. And so everybody else is, I have to take the other route. Road less traveled, that's usually where I am anyway. Somewhere off by myself with Dad. A few of us stragglers over there with me. Okay, so let's go through this month, because I got this off this New Age list. They were detailing the dates of September, so sometimes they come up with some interesting stuff. Not always accurate, but interesting. September 1st marks the start of FEMA's annual National Preparedness Month. Okay. Why would they have a National Preparedness Month in September when that's usually the date, if you notice, pay attention, that's the month they're always planning all these catastrophes for. Every year, September is the month of chaos. Has not stopped. It's been that way for every September for the last five years that I've paid attention. It could be a whole lot longer than that. But it seems like it's the month of chaos. Which brings me... Okay, so we'll talk about it. But September 21st, the hype date everybody's talking about, is actually the UN International Day of Peace, which, you know, they turn everything upside down, so it actually means UN International Day of Chaos, which would go along with the birth of Virgo constellation, which is Revelation 12, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so on September 1st, the U.S. State Department's ban on U.S. citizens traveling into North Korea goes into effect, which causes many to be alarmed that this might be a sign moving toward war with North Korea. Like I said, they're going to script it out of desperation. They're going to forge it. They want a bomb in the peninsula. And so it looks like they'll probably go ahead and push that for September, probably on the 21st. Probably see that go on. I would not be surprised, since that's the International Day of Peace, that they would ignite a nuclear bomb in North Korea. On the peninsula. If you're near the peninsula, get away from the peninsula, because that is their target, is the peninsula. Okay. September 11th marks the 16th anniversary of 9/11. September 20th, Rosh Hashanah begins at sunset. September 21st, the nuclear war in Korea, the International Day of Chaos. And then you have September 23rd, the date that has become known as the Revelation 12 sign. It also, they've stuck with that date. It actually starts earlier in September, because when a constellation moves in place and all these alignments, they don't just sit there for one day. It takes them a while to get aligned and stuff, and so it's actually there a week or two before the 23rd. But we're going to go along with September 23rd date they're giving. It's an astronomical alignment of the Sun, Moon, constellation Virgo, constellation Leo, and planets Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, and Venus. And all this together gives us the woman clothed with the sun. This whole description in Revelation chapter 12. I'm not going to read it. Well, maybe I should, because I know a lot of you guys do not have Bibles. A lot of you millennials don't even know what it is. Well, all right, I'm being sarcastic, but I'll read it. Revelation chapter 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of God, and they should feed her 1,260 days. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevaileth not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Okay, so we're going to stop here because everybody's putting this birthing ritual for September 23rd. Obviously, when you read it literally in Revelation chapter 12, this is an event that already happened once before. It sounds like it happened shortly before Yahushua was born, because it kind of picks up. He's already been born. And if this is all ritual and metaphorical, and so I know that everybody's got different interpretation. I think I did an article on this. But what's significant of it now is Satan being cast out of heaven. Now, we know he's already been cast out of the first heaven with his rebellion when he led a third of the angels in rebellion against the Father. And in my book, I detail this rebellion. It would blow you away to read the truth of what really happened during that rebellion. The churches don't teach it, but I detail the whole thing. And then we kind of go into repeat mode. He's going to do it again. He's going to be kicked out of the second heaven. He's going to be cast to the earth. The first time he was kicked out of the first heaven. This time he's being kicked out of the second heaven, and he's going to be cast to the earth, and he's going to be rot. He's going to come after the remnant of her seed, the woman being Israel, and the remnant of her seed being those who worship Yahushua, who worship Jesus. And so, you know what? If they're trying to say that on September 23rd is when Satan is cast out of heaven, I'd be all for that, because that would speed us up in the timeline of things. Theoretically, if you were looking at it now, as slow as things go, there's no way that could happen right now. But it could if things speed up. And I'm all for that. I guess we find out, we'll know in September. You know? I think we'll know before the 23rd, but I'm just saying. All right, so let's look at the 29th. Yom Kippur begins at sunset, and it concludes on September 30th, which would conclude the 40 days after the solar eclipse. And so it's known as the Great American Eclipse on August 21st. It should be known as the Great Israel Eclipse, because America is Israel. Know who you are, folks. We are true Israel. Okay, U.S. Treasury Secretary Munchkin, I don't know how you say his name, Munchkin, says that the debt ceiling will be breached on this day if Congress does not raise it by then. Of course, they could just raise it. That's all they'd ever do with Obama. They just keep raising it. It's all fictitious debt numbers now. Nobody could ever pay back all that debt. And why should we? Why should we pay back a single family who controls all the money in the world, Rothschilds? They can bite it. We owe you that? Too bad. Bite it. Bite the loss. One family controls almost 3/4 of the money in the world. We're worried about paying them back? Forget that. Arrest the criminals. The federal treasury is not owned by the federal government, folks. You could start a business yourself and put federal in front of it. Everybody sees that name federal and they think it's government. That's how they hoodwinked people for so long. Oh yeah, just throw the term federal in front of it. Sounds governmental. The federal treasury, the federal IRS. It's not even owned by America. So you just pay slave taxes to the fat butt in England and the lizard family there, because our independence was a lie. It was nothing but a lie. We celebrate every July 4th for what? Did we send all our hard-earned bucks to the fat butt in Europe? Seriously? Learn some real history, folks. The United States defaulted on their war loans from England, and she took over. She took over the reins of our country. We're not free of her. We're not free. Even in the Bible, it says the mother of Babylon, and she is Europe is the mother of America, and so. But the whole Declaration of Independence. You know what independence we got? They just hightailed their butts out of here and let America rule themselves, but you have to pay the debt taxes back to them, the slave taxes to her. And so every year the slave taxes are collected via the IRS, which is a DBA. If you ever looked at it in your state, the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, is a DBA, doing business as. And then whatever shell company she has in front of that, doing business as the Queen's money collector, because that's what it really is. Yeah, we've all been lied to and hoodwinked our entire lives, folks. So let's get back to the interesting stuff. That's not a fight I pick up. I always say choose your fights wisely. I have too many fights on my plate as it is. There's other people who have picked up the reins of who and what the IRS really is, and they're telling the truth. I just don't have time for everything on my plate. All right. So they want you to be afraid that on September 30th, Congress will not pass a budget and we would go into lockdown. Well, it's all scripted, folks. If we go into lockdown, it's scripted. If they pass it, it's scripted. We have no control over the script. But what we can do is refuse to feed it energy. Don't give it energy. It's garbage. Don't fret and get all upset and hyped over the false flags that keep coming out. It's the deep state doing it. It's the CIA. It's all scripted. Just be mad at them, not at the crisis actors, not at the patsies being arrested and thrown in jail. They're not even the ones who do it. They're just the patsies. Steve Mineo will never get justice for his murder because the patsy in jail is not even the one who did it. They use different Barb Rogers. The whole thing just infuriates me. And this stupid psyop against me. Notice how quiet it's gotten? Because they realized that was too strong to take on. So now they're trying to bury the whole thing. Makes me mad. All right. So, August 21st. Let's go back to that day because that one makes me happy. I don't know why. It's just Dad's Day. It's a solar eclipse. It's Dad's Day. So I'm happy. My love is with the Father. I have a show that night, so that'll be interesting. It's always a zoo on Monday nights around here anyway. I'll be out in the afternoon. I just bought my son a welding mask. I may keep it home from school that day so I can use his mask and watch the eclipse. Who starts school on August 21st? I mean, seriously? All this coming down the pike at once, and they start school August 21st like a bunch of morons. It makes me so mad. Anyway, folks, show's over. I will be back on Monday night. Till then, everybody, God bless.